Hello retro gamers and welcome back to Retro Unrelated. In this series of videos, I take a look at retro items that aren't exactly to do with gaming. I have a lot of old crap that basically I like as well, so just as a bit of a stopgap, bit of a break from my usual videos, every now and again I want to make a video highlighting one of the many old objects that I own. The first video, if you haven't seen it, which I released back in February of this year, was about this 1979 Seiko digital watch. But today, we're covering the StarCam. The StarCam digital camera. Now, I found this for $10 in a thrift store quite a while back. It was something like 10 bucks. And I'll be frank, I can't really find much information about it whatsoever. In my very limited research, as in the research I was able to do, I think it's from 2001. But if you search for this online, all I was really able to find was a forum post on CNET from 2012 from a guy asking how he can basically connect it to a modern computer to upload the photos of it since he lost all the photos or whatever. So basically there's no other information that I can find. All I know is that it has some sort of connection to the company Arcsoft. Anyway, there is a bit of an extra motive to me making this video. Now, I've been wanting to cover this for a while just because I was curious about how the photos would come out. But as you can probably tell, this video is in 4K. It is my first video of such, and I find that very, very exciting. So to basically give the camera a bit of a run for its money, which is the Sony a6300 if you're wondering, I wanted to make a video that was very heavy on video, without a way of saying that any better. I just wanted lots of shots, and basically a retro unrelated video is perfect for that because there's hardly any capture. There's a bit of capture on the computer, but there's no video game capture, which is what my videos are usually made up of. So yeah, that's really the reason for making this video. So if you are able to watch in 4K, I highly recommend it. It's been a jump that I've been wanting to make resolution wise for at least 2 years, but yeah, we're here. Anyway, aside from that, let's take a look at the StarCam digital camera. The StarCam digital camera was sold in a suitable box that explains all that needs explaining. Yes, no film needed. Welcome to the digital age. Take 20 to 80 digital photos and record a video. There's even a nice image cut out of a family, some of which are horribly sunburnt, that most certainly was not taken with this camera. Rotating the box mostly highlights the usefulness of the included software by Arcsoft, while the top shows that the StarCam came in at least 2 different colours. However, mine is dull grey, much like the colour tinge of most of the photos. Otherwise, one side of the box shows specifications that gives us more of an idea of what this thing is capable of. The images have a resolution of 352 by 288 in the high res mode, while the low res mode will only spit out photos of 176 by 144 pixels. So that explains the promise of either 20 or 80 photos. And you're limited to those numbers. The StarCam has no expandable memory, solely relying on 2 megabytes of onboard storage. Cracking open the box will give you access to the StarCam itself, a USB Type-A to Type-B cable, and an alternative RS-232 serial cable to 3.5mm jack if you are still USB impaired in 2001. There's also a quick start guide which I've somehow lost during the production of this video, as well as a disc that includes a more in-depth PDF manual and all the necessary software and drivers. This originally came in a paper sleeve too, also somehow lost. The camera runs on 3 AAA batteries, and once those are installed, you're ready to go, indicated by a beep, a green LED, and the small LCD turning on. Modes can be selected by pushing the aptly named Mode button. Generally, the number of photos left that can be taken will be shown, but pushing the Mode button will cycle between the different functions. Here, you can select the low resolution mode, a 10-second self-timer, a continuous mode, which is used to shoot those short videos, and lastly, the option to clear all photos. Otherwise, you could just remove the batteries since the memory is not flash-based. The process of taking photos does not differ to any other camera.
simply look through the optical viewfinder and push the shutter release. A chirpy beep will let you know that the photos have been successfully recorded and the value on the LCD will decrease by 1. If you hear a more insidious beep instead, of which the manual refers to as a G sound, it will mean that there is not enough light to take a photo. I guess this is a good thing since there is nowhere to view your photo until you upload on a computer. No one wants a bunch of useless and dark photos after all, but it immediately shows the limitations of the camera. What we would consider a illuminated enough environment indoors is usually not enough for the aged StarCam. So no sudden jumping into a room to take a potentially embarrassing photo. You'll probably be disappointed. Once you've taken your 20 to 80 masterful examples of photography, it's time to copy them to a computer using the included software. I could not get the installer to run on Windows 10, to instead use my Windows XP machine. Once the digital camera suite is installed, you should be able to connect your camera to the computer and upload the photos. You'll also have access to the manual and some Arcsoft branded software. It's also with this disc that I was able to date the camera since I wasn't able to find anything concrete online. Most of the files date from the years 1998 to 2000, while the latest I found were the drivers which dated to March 2001. Regardless, the included Arcsoft software includes the AVI Creator, which is used to export short video files from the camera's continuous mode, Photo Printer, which is as described, Photo Fantasy, which is a lame photo manipulation program allowing you to superimpose your mug into a range of stock photos, and lastly, Photo Studio. This is the most useful program since it allows you to upload the photos and then export them to a range of formats. Personally, I use the bitmap format. So, I guess I better talk about the photos. Well, I didn't go into this video expecting much since of its age and the fact that it was likely a budget product even at the time, but here we go. I did take a range of photos of the StarCam, but most were taken on a Sunday outing to a historical area of my hometown since it's full of interesting things to take photos of. To mix things up a bit, and also to give some context to the quality of the photos, I thought it would be fun to take the same photos of both the StarCam and my new Sony a6300. A frivolous comparison for sure, but I also wanted to give my new Sony a test run, so this kind of killed two birds with one pixelated stone. Two things are immediately apparent. One, the color of the photos is skewed more to the grey spectrum than anything else, and two, the optical viewfinder cuts out a portion of the photo to the right hand side. That second point is an important one. Look at this photo of an old shop front taken with the a6300 for instance. And now compared to the StarCams, the framing is completely inaccurate to what I saw through the viewfinder. It's not just that photo either, it happened to all of them really. Like with this photo, I endeavoured to capture that vintage blue car in front of a bookstore where I once bought a stack of PS1 magazines for $1 each. In the StarCam photo, all the framing to the right is cut off, including the front of that blue car. I know this is because of different aspect ratios between the cameras, but it would be nice if what was visible through the viewfinder was more accurate to the actual photos produced. I know there will usually be some cutoff with an optical viewfinder, but to have so much cut off to one side would have been crap in 2001 as well. Now, the colours. I know this is not really a fair critique considering the age of the camera, but the photos are pretty washed out. Sure, you can usually tell what colour you're supposed to be looking at, even if it is greyish and light, but it did have issues with black. Look at this endearing selfie for instance. That shirt is black, but the StarCam seems to think it's purple. Overall though, I'm actually quite impressed really. I mean, looking aside from the resolution and pixelated nature that the modern human would find repulsive, the camera did a fine job of picking up contrasting elements, such as shadows. I can even read most text, although most finer details are usually lost. It had trouble defining leaves on trees for instance, just not enough pixels I guess. There were times it pleasantly surprised me though. Look at this photo. I assumed it would be too up close for the StarCam and come out blurry, but it did a decent enough job. Framing issues aside. Okay, this video is running a bit longer than I would have liked, but let's quickly cover the other shooting modes. It should go without saying that the videos are without audio. There is no microphone built into the camera, and really, even though short, these are at the full resolution of the photos since they're created with the continuous mode. They kind of look like a video you might have shot on a Nokia flip phone in 2008. But really, there isn't much you can take with just 2 seconds before having to stop and upload the photos. This is where the low res mode may come into play, allowing for an elongated 8-second video instead. It is half the resolution of an already awful pixel count, but I'm sure it would have been a cool novelty at the time. So yes, the low res mode. There's not much to say really. The lower resolution photos have all the same quirks as the high res versions as far as colour reproduction and contrast go, they're just smaller, plain and simple. Taking more photos would have been great, but they're so small I don't really know what use they would have been.
The StarCam digital camera is definitely a lot of fun to play around with. It's definitely like, this video has been super fun to make, especially going out on the Sunday and taking all the comparison photos. But ultimately, it's definitely a product of its time. It doesn't really have any use in the modern day. Like, at least with this wristwatch, I can still wear it and successfully tell the time. But with this, like, you're not going to use this to go out and take pictures of your next family holiday. You can use your phone for that if you don't own a camera, because obviously camera technology on phones has come leap and bounds over the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So yeah, it's, like I said, it's definitely a product of its time. It's definitely a bit of fun. It was very fun to make this video, but I do not know what purpose it has in 2018. Nearly 2019. Ultimately, I really wish I knew more about this camera, especially its price. Like, it's definitely a budget product. Just the fact that it has no recognizable brand, just you look at the packaging, just the build quality, like, it's definitely budget. I don't think this would have cost very much at all. That much is apparent, but it still would have been nice to know, and just more information overall would be great. So if you happen to be watching and you know anything, please let me know, because I am very, very curious. Definitely has something to do with ArcSoft. It does appear that they have released a number of cameras over the years to supplement their software, which seems to be the major focus of their business. But I do have a suspicion that this is somewhat of an OEM product that's probably just being rebranded. And there's probably a whole bunch of different StarCams out there with different names that is probably the exact same camera. So yeah, honestly, I don't know, but if you do know anything, please let me know. But yeah, that's a wrap for this video. Thank you for watching. I do hope to make more retro, unrelated videos in the future. It won't be a common thing, it will just be every couple of months. I mean, there was a good, 10 months? What did I say? February, I made the last video about the Seiko. It's just a video, a type of video I want to make every now and again just to break things up. But that is it. Thank you so much for watching. The next video will be back to our regularly scheduled schedule. Talking about a script is hard. But yes, I'm rambling. So, see you in the next video. Will likely be a review.